Hi, everybody. Welcome to Aging with Grace. You know, during the time that I penned Aging with Grace, it was a time of great reflection for me. And the consequence of spending time reflecting, looking inwardly, asking the Lord tons of questions has been rewarding, not just for me, but for readers of Aging with Grace. I basically would summarize this book as a compilation of insights, reflections that truly revive women. It takes them to a place of transformation and evolution. And that's if they want it. That's if they want it. And every chapter, every nugget, word of wisdom steers the reader into a place called better if they want it, you know? So basically, Aging with Grace is here to help women who realize that they are getting older, and with age comes a lot: responsibility, concerns, cares, and a whole lot. Yet, the grace, the unmerited favor that the Lord gives each of us each and every day that we realize we're in the land of the living, affords us all an opportunity to become better, to get things right, to give us another opportunity to do good and to become better. So Aging with Grace basically helps lead women, because that's my target audience, into a place called better, to become the best version of them during their discipleship journey. With all that said, I have learned that, there are women who want to know steps, recipe for this, how do I get there? The bottom line is, don't ask if you're unwilling to accept the plan. And the plan is tailor-made. It's not always what your sister or your mother, your friend, or your female neighbor or female colleague had to endure. It's tailor-made. And we just have to be willing, if we really want this transformation to arrive at this place called better, if we really want to see that best version of us, we have to be willing to be open for some things. And I just want to share just a few things. We need to be willing to listen. Well, someone is saying, I'm a great listener. I listen really well. One of the things that transformation and evolution requires is that we have an idea of the common goal, or not so much the common goal, but the main goal. We may not know all of the details to get there, but we know that that's where I need to go. I may not know how to get there, and the how will come from hearing the directions. And oftentimes we can be so caught up in our daily lives, our responsibilities, which is a blessing to have responsibilities, by the way. But sometimes we can put more on ourselves than we need to have, and we bring things on ourselves that we weren't assigned. We assign ourselves things, and for whatever reason, it could be overcompensation for something, it could be to prove, it could be a host of things. But we have to be careful with the responsibilities that we have. We need to understand whether I brought this on myself, or this is required of me, because of it's ordained, it's my plight, you know, we need to know the difference. But oftentimes we have so many things going on simultaneously that we hear sounds, but we're not listening. Because when we listen, we don't just hear talk. You know, we don't want to be like the parents, how the parents are reflected in Charlie Brown, wonk, 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 wonk. I hear you, but I don't hear you. We want to go beyond hearing sounds and seeing lips move. We want to know exactly what was said, why it was said, how I'm supposed to interpret it. I want to be clear that I understand. Listening is key. Listening is key, whether, you know, we're listening to hear from the Lord, we're listening to a person physically in front of us. Listening is key. Listening to a toddler, a 13-year-old, a 30-something, a 50-year-old, an 80-year-old person, it doesn't matter. Listening is being in tune to what the person is saying, not ready to disagree, even though you may, but making sure you understand what that person is conveying to you, whether it's opposition or not. Making sure that you understand what is being presented to you. Oftentimes, we don't want to wait to hear, to understand. We don't even want to get the understanding. And we're told as believers in Christ and all about getting to get understanding. And oftentimes we don't want the understanding. We want our voice heard. We want to be heard. And oftentimes, as African American women, that has been an issue with us, that our voice is not appreciated, it's not welcomed, there's no space for it. And so we want to be really sometimes we're very forceful with being heard because our voices have been shut down for so long. Yet we need to find a balance, because we don't want to have this energy that is always about pushing our agenda, pushing our point of view, that we distance people who do have good intentions because we want to make sure, number one, us have been heard. You know what I'm saying? But we really need to learn to listen. And there's an art to listening. It doesn't make us weak. It doesn't make us wimpish. It's actually empowering, because when we listen to people, sometimes we hear things that are not being said verbally. And with wisdom attached to that, our reaction can really diffuse some things, and we can really be a blessing to others and to ourselves. So we have to be willing to listen. It doesn't mean it takes, listening doesn't take anything away from us. Now I do need to say this. Listening doesn't mean we listen to everything that props itself in front of us. There are times when we have to understand that what is being presented to us is a distraction. It's maybe perverted. It is sent to just take us off course, off balance, and what have you. So we have to be discerning, but be willing to listen. Be willing to listen. And the older we get, I think we ought to be more of great listeners, because you'll be surprised what you really hear, what people aren't saying. People, I believe, I've learned from my experiences that people will always show you who they are. And if we're not anxious, in forming relationships with this group of people and this person or whatever, we will see. who people really are. People will show us who they are, but people will also tell us who they are. And I think that as listeners, if everyone's talking at the same time, we miss that. But if we take it, and I know I'm guilty of it, I've been guilty of it, feeling like, oh no, you're not going to take advantage of me. No, 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 you're going to hear what I have to say, and when it's all said and done, I don't really feel so empowered. I just, in that moment, I just want to make the person think I was, knowing to know something, but not really. But that's not my nature. And for some people, it is their nature. It comes across that way. But being a great listener is so helpful. And the older that we get, I think the wiser we should become, because age doesn't always mean wisdom. Doesn't align with wisdom all of the time. But young woman, middle-aged woman, older woman, learn to listen. Be willing to listen, because God is speaking to us too. And if we don't listen to the humans who are around us, can we really say that we're listening to God when he speaks to us? So reflect on that for a moment. The other thing I want to stress is the desire for personal evolution. I think that some people get stagnant and they get to a certain place in life where, they feel like they've done it all and there's nothing else to do. They put a cap on really living. As women, I think that should have never been. I know that we've come through different times, there are different cultures, how women have been oppressed and, just shut down, no voice, little voice, whatever. But we are God's creation. We are his workmanship, his handiwork. And we are created to have a voice as well. And we are created to want the best that living offers. I think sometimes, again, with a lot of responsibilities and low self-esteem and a whole lot of other issues, that a lot of women put a cap on evolution, self-evolution. And I'm not talking about, believing in, apes that we came from. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about evolving as a person. I do not want to be the person who I was when I was 18. If I see someone I went to high school with, I would hope that they don't talk like and act like they acted when we were in high school. A lot has happened since high school. Oftentimes I meet people who wonder why some Christians go the extra or do extra, as they say, not so much in church, but for God. I've literally heard people say, you don't have to do all that. I've heard it said to me, you don't have to do all of that. I know so-and-so who goes to church and they don't do all that. So, at the time I was just really taken back of who said it and that it was said to me. But as I drove home, I'm thinking, you comparing me to her? She's the standard, and because I'm not, okay. But there are people who don't want to go so far. But what I'm saying to you, if you really want to ever see the best version of you, whoever she is, have to be willing to evolve. And there's a cost, there's a risk with that. The cost could be distance between those who you feel or felt connected to at some point for whatever reason, socially, maybe with family, maybe through same interests, whatever. And you're going a little extra is now complicating things for them and for you, but you have to be willing, because our evolution there's a cost to it and a loss. Something is lost. But I've learned that whatever I lost did not have my best interest. Whatever I lost didn't have my back. So it was best that I moved forward to see the Stephannie that I was created to be. And I believe that there are so many people out there who wonder what better looks like. You know, how can I be better than this? How can life be even better than this? Well, take the risk, open yourself up to be transformed. We're called to be transformed. We're called to evolve. So desire that personal evolution. And I'm a witness also that the Lord will give you strength during your period of evolution to endure whatever conflict, whatever comes along, because there will be opposition to your evolution. There will be, and you can't be scared of it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. The other thing is, desert your comfort zone. That's kind of, in alignment with evolution. There are people, there are women who are comfortable just where they are, but yet they want better and don't understand that you have to get out of that comfort zone in order to experience the best, the better. And we're not talking about what you can see, not even what you can envision. Sometimes people say, well, envision yourself, this and the other. Well, I say, whatever you are envisioning is limiting. It's very limited, because if I can imagine it, how great is that? I want what God has for me, and I believe it's something that you and I can't even imagine. But for that to happen, I have to come out of my comfort zone. Maybe I need to start having faith that this thing can really happen. And of course, I need to work that faith, right? I need to work that faith. And I need to believe, because God says faith pleases him. He says faith without works is dead. So that means I need to figure out, or find out rather, from the Lord as I navigate through this journey to better. What do I need to do, Lord? What do I need to do to get on your side of things? To get out of this comfort level? What do I need to do? And help the part of me that's unwilling to do it. God will give you the grace to do it. Aging with grace. God will give you and I the grace to do whatever he calls us to do. He'll give us the grace to endure whatever he brings into our life. Parenthood, marriage, leadership, illness, you name it. Wealth, whatever it is, God will give us the grace to do it. That's why we shouldn't measure ourselves and measure our journeys and compare our journeys with other people, because they have the grace to do what they're doing, or maybe they don't. You don't know that. But when we are walking in the flow with the Lord, we are graced to do all of the things that he has allowed in our lives and called us to do. The other thing is, we need to become and remain teachable. This is a big deal. The teacher in me, I was an educator for many years, but the teacher in me, I tell you, it bothers me when I see myself, catch myself not wanting to be taught. And I'm like, oh my God, I just saw one of my students just now in me, the way I responded to something. Things are changing, not just, we can talk about technology and all these things that they're changing, but there are other things that are changing. There are perceptions, there are laws, there are all kinds of things that conflict with or make us question our beliefs, our belief system. And if we're not careful, we'll be so conflicted that we won't respond to being convicted, the way that we ought to. And so I think that we ought to be open to not so much everything that comes out, but we ought to be open to being taught how to respond, being taught how to speak up, when to speak up, when to sit back and chill, not just to listen, but to literally be silent. Being teachable is really unlearning some things. In some cases, it's relearning. But the big deal is unlearning, being deprogrammed. How willing are we to be deprogrammed? This is all I know. Everybody in my family think like this. Does it make it right? This is how I am. No, it's not how you are. It's how you choose to be. What makes you comfortable. To be anything other than what you are creates discomfort, because you don't know how to be. That's why so many people don't integrate into different types of job settings, community, school settings, or whatever, communities, because it's uncomfortable, but when we are teachable, we become empowered people. We become wise and open and knowledgeable people. See, learning is ongoing, and we should not stop learning because we reach a certain age. One of the things I love is to see seniors. Oh God, I'm not far from being called a senior, but watching seniors be open to being taught different things, whether it's how to use the computer or anything. It amazes me because I'm like, wow, life was so different, when they were that person's age or whatever, but to be open to it. Because there's so many people who, I've heard who they're like, no way. I remember when this is back in the 80s when we had those big giant computers. And I can remember when our school, one of the schools where I taught, received 5. And that was a big deal. And I was so intrigued by them. And I asked the principal for permission to attend different workshops that were being held in the district. And she said yes. And because I had the exposure, then I was allowed to help with staff development and also have 2 or 3 of those computers at a time in my room because they really weren't being used much. And it was amazing to watch the students just gravitate to them when I could teach any lesson using those. And I was loving it. But I remember some of the older staff came to me and say, Solomon, you need to stop that. Stop what? You need to stop that because who's the they? They are going to expect all of us to be doing this. And I'm not doing that. I don't know computers. I don't want to know computers. I'm retiring soon. It was just all this stuff. So I'm like, oh my God. So you want me to stop my evolution? I like this. You want me to stop growing and you want me to stop evolving to make you comfortable. In this world, you're going to have people like that. They could care less about your desire to grow. Just don't let your growth affect them or challenge them because that's not what they want. you know, and we have to be ready for that and be aware of that and still make a decision. And I know it's hard. I'm a life coach and I hear it from people. I've heard it from people before I became a life coach. Um, I've experienced this where the ties that we have with people, whether they're family, friends, acquaintances, particularly, we don't want to rock the boat, you know, but yet we're torn because there's something in us, like a fire in us that wants is curious, that wants to grow and wants to know more. It's got to be more on the other side. I remember growing up, my mother used to say to me, it ain't green on the other side, Stephannie. And in my mind, because I wasn't gonna sassy her, oh no, no, no. But in my mind, I was thinking, I think it is. I was thinking, oh, I think it is. There's something better than this, you know? And I think it's really unfair. And it's just not right for others who are uncomfortable, who want to stay in their comfort zone, who don't want to be transformed, don't want to evolve, expect those who are connected with them not to evolve either. It's selfish. Yeah, it really is. But we have to be, especially when we get as grown as we're going to get, ladies, we have to step outside of that. And yes, it will be challenging. I said it earlier, there will be some loss and there's a cost, there's a risk. There's a risk of being distanced. There's a risk of being shut out. There's a risk of being shut down, or people will expect you to reduce yourself. Stay there. Say no more. Get back down. Say no more. Do no more. There are risks with that. And it's the only life that we have. It's our life. And we have to ask ourselves, what am I going to do with this? God has given me the grace to live another day. He's given me the grace to have the opportunity to do this, that, and the other, and I'm going to blow it. And I know it's rough. It's rough, especially when there is a connection that we don't want to detach from. And we have to make a choice. You know, do I be unhappy and stay connected to people who will disown me or whatever because I choose to live my life, but they're not backing, you know, that's a life coach thing there I could talk to you about. But we really have to think about how willing are we, again, to accept the cost? How willing are we to take the risk, to evolve, to grow? Amen. And to be taught. It really just boils down to us being willing to learn and unlearn some things. I'm telling you, that whole piece of unlearning, that in itself is a big deal. It can be overwhelming because we know what we know. And if you lived a little bit, you're over 50 like me, you got some years behind the big 50. You're on the other side of the other half rather, and a lot. We've seen a lot, but I think that as we age, we ought to never lose that curiosity, that twinkle in our eye for the newness, freshness, and the what ifs and what have you. So Aging with Grace is really a challenge. It's a book of challenges too. I've had so many readers come back and tell me how their life changed and how in reading the book it made them think about particular areas of their lives and how they made some moves because of it. So it's about challenge. Yeah, it's about a challenge. So I hope that as you age, you look at the grace that has been extended to you, the fact that you're even listening and watching today. Grace has been extended to you. And I hope that that grace is not looked upon lightly. And I hope that that grace is not taken advantage of in a negative way. I just hope that you take the transformation opportunity and see what's on the other side. I believe the grass is greener. Oh, thanks for tuning in. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the show.